Yeah, that's the concept of this techno burlesque that we started in 2013, and we're still doing it like about 10 to 12 times a year. And in the last 5, 6, 7 years, we have sold out shows, which is pretty incredible for contemporary dance view, like from the contemporary dance.
Welcome, Fedi Friends, to episode 62 of Fireside Fedi. I'm your host, Ozoned. Fireside Fedi is a show about folks within the Fediverse. If you're hearing this, you are the Fediverse. Before we begin, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, all that. It gets the show seeded to all of the different Fediverse platforms. And I just want to talk to more awesome people and share their backgrounds. So help us do that. And if anyone's interested, feel free to make art or clips of the show. You can tag us at hashtag FSFArt. That's FSFart, which I realized last time, but still love it. Or FSF Clips, or you can just mention us directly at Fireside Fedi at social.firesidefedi.live. But with all that out of the way, my guest today is Prince Lucija. Okay, I got a nod, so I think I got that right. Prince Lucija is a computer sound noise musician, also known as Luka, and this one I'm going to get wrong, so please correct me. Princic? No. No, what? I did not get that. That is not that good. Is it? All right. Gender blender, non-conforming kinkster, post-human transfeminist, plant-based anti-capitalist, commoner, critical engineer, running Commsdot Boutique, a Creative Commons NetLabel, also runs Mastodon Instance, SONOMU.club, Sound Noise Music Club. Been involved in network culture since the FidoNet, and as I told Lucija at the beginning of this, that I have to share because I think that this sums up where I come from in these and why I get nervous about these. Prince Lucija says, online communication is messy and complicated. Let me know if you think I effed up. I'm happy to learn. And I'm okay if you swear, by the way. Feel free. I have a little kid over there, so I'm trying not to. I'm sure I will. But something as simple as that, like, I am going to screw up. I am going to say something that someone takes in a way that does not downplay their emotions at all, but help me learn, right? I think that's a big thing. We have the opportunity and the ability to reach out and talk to anyone. An American in Raleigh, North Carolina can reach out and talk to Prince Lucija in Slovenia, which, as an American, I didn't even know where it was. I had to look it up on the map. I'm very sorry. But just everyone just always try to have, patience with others, especially when they're from different backgrounds. But with all of that out of the way, Prince Lucija, thank you so much for joining me. I'm very excited. I'm also very nervous. How would you like to be addressed before we start?
So you already addressed me as Lucia. You can use Lucia, or Luca as well. It's fine with me. So as we already discussed before, I have it's not so simple with me. And but it's very simple because I'm not offended if you use anything. So, and pronouns can be he or she. This is totally fine. Anything you want. But yeah.
Yeah, there is a little bit of an audio video desync. I'm not worried about that for the chat. So, so that's already, like, I just want to jump straight into that if you're okay talking about it. We had the conversation.
Sure.
Originally, that you're open to have these discussions, and someone that is, middle-aged white American male, uh, always heterosexual. These are questions I've never had to bring up in my life. This is, I've kind of like questioned myself before on some things, but it was always like, no, it's this. This is I am very much who I am. So then, in a world with very defined roles like that, I think well, at least I lived through a turbulent time with homosexual folks in the U.S. getting equal rights. But now we're seeing that there's a massive crackdown on folks that are transgender. But you're actually saying that for you, it's far more complex than that, or is it not? You just look at it differently. This is amazing.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I have to, be honest and upfront. I have been born and raised, and 99% of my experiences were as white male, heterosexual, and my let's say experimentation and discovery of different gender expressions mainly, but somehow relatedly also sexualities and identities, are kind of like coming in last, I don't know, 10 years, maybe 15 maximum.
Oh, wow.
Partly through art, but yeah. So I have this privileged background, and it's easier. I feel like it's much easier for me to say, any pronoun. You can use any pronoun for me. I don't say I don't have struggles regarding, shame and fear of appearing femme in public and so on. But I also have I have a car. I live in a house. I'm not. I don't live in poverty. While
Yes.
there are people who are living in poverty who cannot, afford a car, so they can sit in a car and drive themselves to the, lesbian club or trans-friendly club and then be there by themselves. But they have to, change their clothes, I don't know, in the back room of the club because they are afraid to walk towards the club or going with the public transport there, etc., etc. So in this context, I think I am quite privileged, and I'm having not really bad time, and in also on in some way my possibility to say use any pronoun, I'm just discovering this, is also somehow, it's simple for everyone, for me and others, I think, but it's also easier for me than for somebody who actually struggles from gender dysphoria and things like that, which are kind of they can be, in terms of mental health, they can be really life-threatening. And
Yes.
I'm not in that situation, luckily, because I'm
Yeah.
lucky. But others are not. And I think this kind of ties into this discussion about how do we, as a society, care about those who are having the worst time in society. How do we care for them, and do we consider them, you know there's this I think African philosophy where we are as good as the person who has the worst time. Altogether we are as
Oh,
good as
wow.
the person, or we cannot, if we run towards something, we are there when all of us are there, not when the first person reaches there. So is this kind of like total society of solidarity instead of like competition? And
Yeah.
I'm really, really attracted to that, and I'm really touched and sensitive to this. And this kind of really ties to most of stuff that we might discuss today, in terms of like what motivates me, to do this kind of, let's say, activist work, or work like care of the community, things like that, and why open source software, why Fediverse, all these things kind of come from this motivation.
Wow. There's like a billion different things that you just dropped on me there. I want to go in so many directions to have this discussion because I absolutely agree. I never really had, there's the adage of it takes a village in order to raise a child. But that's an excellent point, is it takes a village to help all of us raise up together. I grew up pretty humble. I didn't have a lot of, fancy stuff. So when I found things like open source, and I had clawed my way out of that, and we are very comfortable now. That's exactly how I look at open source. Is it allows diversity at all levels, that everyone, well, not at all levels, but once you get to a certain point, right, it lowers the bar to entry for people so that we together are our strengths. I used to say at the end of the show that no one can do everything, but all together collectively we can do anything. And I'm hopeful with things like the Fediverse and open source and breaking down these walls of social media, that we could start seeing that again, because you should have a right to flourish however you want. And the internet and the Fediverse gives people that aren't in our privileged situation ways to find their group and to start to feel comfortable and start to get help and things like that. So normally I start with, how would you like to be addressed? And then we go into, how'd you get to where you're at today? I took a little detour because I wanted to talk about that. So let's step back then and say, so how did you get to where you're at today? Because it's just, so I do research on people, and the research is always limited and interesting and everywhere. And as I said, I don't know if I said during the show, as an American, I didn't know where Slovenia even was. And a lot of music that I'm hearing coming out of folks that I'm not familiar with is very unique and interesting on stuff that I've never heard. So I always love to know this question. So how did you get to where you're at today?
There's so many things, right? There's so many influences, and also like on which field and so on, and is like personally or professionally. Not that those two parts also blur at some point, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you mentioned different types of music and stuff, and musically I'm indebted to my father for sure. Actually also my mother. So supposedly there's this story that when I was not even yet born, but I was already existing in a way, the two of them were visiting, jazz fusion concerts. And supposedly that, that could be like also. But I also have, through my father, I have Romani roots. And Romani are supposed to be quite musical as well. And then there's this whole range of records that we had at home, of course, like this kind of like a lot of people say this. And also, yeah, my father kind of like tried to engage me in, learning, playing piano, learning guitar. It was mostly private lessons. And yeah, I just listened to a lot of very different stuff, from jazz to heavy metal, and then of course electronic music, discovering, rave scene, techno scene, like very early times. Had a bit of like view of like Slovenian local techno, early rave, trance, and breakbeat, underground club dance scene. And yeah, and on one that's on one hand, and on the other hand, my older brother, who actually lives in America currently, um, he's been always a computer person, like from very early age. He knew how to
Okay.
program. He had one, like ZX Spectrum,
Oh yeah, yeah.
one of the first ones
Yep.
in Slovenia, I guess. And then yeah, and then we had at home like a modem, and he got a new computer which was faster, and the slower one, the old one, was the one that I got. And so I was
Yep.
at the
Yeah.
very early time, and he showed me how to put the computer together. What is CPU? What is RAM? What is
What?
what are hard drives and stuff. So I had this kind of like technological uh, you know. Um, possibility to learn what are computers, how they work, and of course also the digital networks pre-internet era. So all this combined, and then on one of the BBSs, so these are the bulletin board systems,
Mm-hmm.
computers which you called through the telephone line, I discovered this software called Scream Tracker, and it was the version 2, which for those who know is means it's like it was a 4-channel music tracker that was able to play through a computer speaker. But if you put together like this bunch of resistors and put it on the printer port, you could get audio line to your hi-fi speakers. So
What?
this is how I started to make computer music. uh, yeah, and then the demo scene and things like that. So we could go into that as well. But so
So,
these are very early. So this is computer music that, yeah, go ahead.
well,
I'm just
it's not even
just
computer
go
music.
on and
It's
on.
you had to do some hardware hacking in order to be able to do that. And this was on the ZX Spectrum or the ZX Spectrum.
No, this was actually on the IBM PC compatible.
Okay.
IBM and Intel. I don't know total specific. They created this computer, and they licensed it. So as opposed to Apple, who wanted to have control
Mm-hmm.
over everything, I think IBM and Intel kind of agreed to do this licensing, so other companies could make so-called IBM compatible
Right.
computers,
Oh
like
yeah.
PCs.
Yeah, I definitely remember
So
IBM
you
compatibles.
would have those computers. So it's like 386, 486, and Pentium. These are the first line of those
So, but
computers. So that one.
but you were raised into, I guess, a musical environment, and then you had this completely separate technology, but you looked at it and like, I can make music with that, and that's kind of what I want to do. That's where I want to be. Or did you like accidentally fall into it where someone's like, oh yeah, you can also
Yeah.
do this and make music? How did that come about?
Yeah, so that's a good question. In a way, so I remember one of the first things that I did, even I think maybe even before I was dabbling with making some blips and blops on a PC, was I was playing with this. Actually,
Oh yeah.
I have
Oh my
this.
god. Yeah.
So like portable tape recorders.
Yeah.
I actually used this in one of the stage shows that we just made. But I had one of these at home, and I know I was able to record from another tape, and then I was just kind of like recording first part and then pause, and then again first part and pause, and so I was making beat loops essentially on from tape to tape, you know. So that was my like. This is what I remember, apart from learning piano and then guitar later. But then, but the other part of the answer that I want to say is that I was for a long time I was kind of haunted by. So me and my father had a complicated relationship. They were separated, my parents, and so he was away, and I went there. And
Mm-hmm.
in a way, he was also a very young father, and so it was a complicated relationship. But also, like, he was trying to help me love music and help me love making music or writing music. But of course, he had values. So some music is better, some music is worse, etc., etc. And he didn't like
Interesting.
computer music at all, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, so because of the complicated relationship, yeah, we, I was taught. So for a long time, I was haunted by this subconscious, I guess, force that, of course, I will not be a musician, you know, because my father is a musician. I will not be like him, you know.
Okay.
So you're kind of like, I think if you're born into kind of musical family or something, you, I think you either, you know, either you just really from the beginning embrace this possibility and you become a musician. And I really envy people who knew at, I don't know, 12, 15 years old that this is what they will do. Um,
Okay.
and but I didn't. I for a long time I felt, yeah, I will study, I don't know, philosophy, or I will study film directing,
Yeah.
and on the side I will do music, because I was doing music all the time on the side. I was, you know, it was just something I, it was natural to me, I guess. But yeah, but then at some point, like I think in early 20s, and then even later, it really kind of solidified that yes, this is my, this is where I thrive the most. This is where I feel the most in tune with myself.
Well, and it's interesting. You had to find not only that it was for you and tune, but you had to find your way, right? So I'm smiling and I giggle a lot because like I recognize those exact kind of things. I am not a musician, but I remember being early
Mm.
teens where you're getting ready to go off in the US to high school and people have to figure out what they want to do. And then by the end of high school, you're supposed to have it all figured out. And then they go to college or you go to work. I don't know if that is as prevalent as people like to make it out to be. Cause like for me personally, I had to try and fail at a lot of different things to get to the point where I'm at today. Um, and yeah, but it's a scary time, right? Because this is something that and has been a huge part of your life, and you're like, well, I don't think that's what I want to do. So what do I want to do? And that it's nerve wracking, right? It forces you to think about yourself. How did you find that though? Like, was it your father frowned upon computer music, which I think we're talking about the 80s and 90s, which when I had heard computer music was like it was very amateurish, like people would say, oh, well, this kind of music is never going to take off versus like something on the radio or whatnot. Like it was screeches and like monotone sounds at alternating frequencies and stuff. But if you actually get into it and you mod a PC to hook it up to the hi-fi, like, was that kind of where does that come in? Where you're just like, no, I found me.
Yeah, a good question. You just, I don't know where, when was this point? Yeah, I mean, the thing is that I started DJing, so I was
Okay.
playing electronic music, and it's just like, I don't know, you're just, I guess I was just stubborn, and like I just didn't want to
That yep.
let it go in a way, or I didn't want to submit to, ideas of just classical and just jazz are the real and the best music possible. I mean, at that time there was, Jean-Michel Jarre was going really big, and that's electronic music. And
Okay.
today, like the other day, I really went to a kind of rabbit hole, and I listened to a lot of stuff that I listened to before, and some other stuff from Jean-Michel Jarre, and the interviews with him, and it's cringy. It is cringy, very cringy. But at that time, you just listen. I was on this huge concert in Paris. I don't know, because he's famous for having, I don't know, half a million, 1 million people on his concerts. Like, he's kind of like the record breaking or something. And I was there. I was on this. There's this Arc de Triomphe, but the modern one in Paris, and he had a big concert there. But anyway, I think somehow I always agreed that classical music is the most complex one, and the most
Okay.
kind of it does have this really, I don't know how to say this. It does have a very a power, and it's really
Mm-hmm.
like, I think in classical music the harmonic relationships and melodies and rhythmical things that happen are really explored really far. And pop music or techno music in that respect are much poorer in this view. But there's another perspective and another function of techno music or electronic music that is repetitive, that has a completely different sense, and is in this way, I don't know, going on a rave party and just losing yourself in this music, dancing, is something that classical music cannot achieve in a way. And there's this whole history and the whole context, how music is made, where it's coming from, who did it, in what kind of context it was made. And when you then compare, something, like a just rhythmical repetitive music that you dance and kind of
Mm-hmm.
lose your body to, or you lose your mind to this bodily movement, um, has its own purpose and has its own value, and it must exist. While at the same time, the intellectual effort and kind of like a mental processes that are involved when constructing a symphony are again something that must exist. But you cannot compare them in this way. And then we can talk about live coding. Why does live coding exist? And these are all different contexts. And I think at some point, I don't know. I'm in going back to your question. Yeah, I was just stubborn, and I was just continuing my path. So I was just making electronic music,
Well,
and DJing, and making. And then at some point, we met somewhere, because today we have really beautiful relationship. He's so supportive of all my weird drone noise stuff that I make, and as well, like, more funk and breakbeat stuff. Um, and then sometimes we even discuss stuff like harmonies and chord progressions and all this
well,
stuff.
and it's
And so at some point we just met somewhere. Yeah.
one of the things that I'm learning about stuff like that is a lot of times people don't like something because they don't understand it. And it seems like once he realized that your music has similarities and commonalities with his music, then we become more comfortable in having that conversation. And I feel like that's kind of how it is culturally and socially with other folks, is when you see someone that you don't know how to interact with, it makes it so much more difficult to interact with them. But again, I've never been a musician. I've never had to think at these kind of levels, and it's it's folks like yourself that have pushed. it's all experimental music until it's not. Right? Until people start to join in and appreciate it and evolve it, because all music, all art in general, all of human history, society is an evolution of something that came before it. And you don't know what is going to work until you get there. I have found a lot of experimental artists on the Fediverse. I'm like, okay, my brain does not handle that. Other things, it's like, I don't get it. And then there's stuff that just, you're just like, okay, I like this. But you get the opportunity to find anything. But where I'm going with this is actually in the songs that I've listened to, again, I'm not a musician, but it seems like you're taking little pieces from all kinds of stuff. Like, so I don't play this, and we're going to try to play Lubo, featuring Tristan Bargeld, right? I haven't played music on the stream yet. I'm going to try to. We'll see how well this works or doesn't work. Lucia's there to let me know if they can hear it too. So I'm going to see if this works. So you cannot hear it. That's okay. Now you can hear it. Okay, now I can hear it.
Sanjal sem o preteklosti, moje srce kucalo mi, jaz sem ljubo. Jaz sem ljubo. Izgubil sem kontrolo, ne morem si pomagati. Jaz sem ljubo. Jaz sem ljubo.
All right, so I'm going to pause it there because I don't want to ruin it for everyone. Please go listen to Lubo. I have no idea what she's saying other than I believe Lubo is a name. But that is such a jam. You just immediately start feeling it. And as soon as I listened to that song, for me, that resonated. How do you come up with your music like that? And to say, I didn't play any of the songs. I recommend people go check out Prince Lucia's music, because there's some of it I'm just like, and maybe it's not intentional or whatnot, it's probably my experiences, but like one of the songs I'm like, this kind of sounds like country music, and I was like, it's such a different thing than Lubo. I'm like, I'm into Lubo. This one not so much. But you try all those different genres, it seems, and you fit like Lego pieces together and find out what works and what doesn't work. So how do you come about that?
Okay, so maybe specifically the album that this track comes from is connected to the let's say theater work that I do here in Ljubljana, or maybe more stage work. And this one specifically, so because what I do regarding stage arts, on one hand, I make music for just a few contemporary dance choreographers. One of them is my partner, and the other one is Croatian choreographer, Matija Frlin. So here I work a lot. I got some experience, and then I found some ways where I work a lot with how can you support dancing bodies on the stage with sound. So that's one part. And here there's usually more experimental sounds, more noisy, drony, atmospheric, sound artish, let's say like this. Okay. But then on the other hand, we also do this show that we called, it's a techno burlesque. And
yes.
So we make a show, we make a techno burlesque show, which is called Image Snatchers. And the way this is a burlesque, we call it also, it's a feminist burlesque. So you have a combination of feminist thought, contemporary dancers, so professional performers, and the tradition of burlesque. And the tradition of burlesque is taken only partially in the way where getting naked on stage can be an act of a critical act towards society. So, or making a satire where you use nudity, or a striptease or reverse striptease, or other kind of like dance variety acts. But consider this as not mainly an entertainment, but only partially entertainment in an old kind of sense. But in these times, it can be filled with humor and satire to comment on political events or on society or state of human today. So that's the kind of like a yeah, that's the concept of this techno burlesque that we started in 2013, and we're still doing it like about 10 to 12 times a year. And in the last 5, 6, 7 years, we have sold out shows, which is pretty incredible for contemporary dance view, like from the contemporary dance part. But why I'm mentioning all this is that my work in there, I actually even perform sometimes. But my main work is to take care of the sound and the music. And often, so this is because we're called image snatchers. We use this technique of taking something and putting it to another context to make a message, or to kind of like propose a question. It doesn't actually have to be, pure message, like we're trying to say this and this and this. So, and in this, so taking care of music, I often then do reworks. So I do covers, I rework stuff, and there's always this kind of cue. So somebody comes, like performer comes and says like, I have this idea to do this and this, some action on the stage to this and this kind of music. And then either we take the original, or we take the karaoke version and somebody sings on top of it, or I do like my own arrangement and electronic rework. And so Lubo, you call it Lubo, but it doesn't matter. It's pronounced Lubo. Lubo is the name. It's kind of like a common name in Yugoslavian parts, ex-Yugoslavian parts. It's not so Slovenian. It's more like Croatian, Serbo-Croatian, or Bosnian kind of name. Came from idea to talk about a man who beats his wife, but he's really, really sorry about it, and then comes back and says like, wow, I'm really sorry. So there's this song by John Lennon called Jealous Guy. And this is kind of like a rework of that, but it's different lyrics and it's completely different song. So I explained a lot of background here. I'm sorry, but
no. I love this. This is amazing.
So how do I? So this specific track started with some. There, if you continue listening to it, those who will follow this line, those who are listening or watching now, you will get to the part where it's really obviously there's a Balkan melody in there. There's this kind of really, Balkan, not necessarily Yugoslavian. You can find it in Bulgarian and stuff. So there are kind of two melodic lines that are playing, and they're very specifically kind of like it has this melos. We call it Balkan melos. So I started with that, but then I was like, okay, so this could sound either way, but maybe it's this dubstep beat that would go with it, and then I constructed this dubstep beat over it, and then I just then we just tried it, and there was some response from the performers and the director and so on, and I went back to it and I changed it a little bit, and make it longer, shorter, and so on. So it's a kind of like also collective work in a way, but it does come from this those kind of like the seed somehow comes, and also the collaboration. So Tristan Bargeld is the stage name of. Otherwise, I would say she identifies as a female, but Tristan Bargeld is her kind of like more masculine character on the stage. And of course there's I will not remember now. There's a Bargeld singer. His second name is Bargeld, but he comes from Einstürzende Neubauten band, and she's referring a little bit to that with that character name. So there's so many references here. I know.
No.
This is the context it's coming from.
No, and that was amazing. I've never heard of anything like Image Snatchers. But I love that your point is like we try to not give you an answer, but just make you ask the question. Right? Because if you give someone an answer, it's going to completely depend on their experience of how they're going to respond. And that might not necessarily coincide with yours. You're not trying to turn people off. You're just making people ask the question. And that's powerful. Okay,
so somebody in chat, said it's Blixa Bargeld. Yeah. Blixa Bargeld was Einstürzende Neubauten, and he was also playing with Nick Cave as well. Yeah. So just sorry. What was your question again?
Oh, no, I
got distracted by this.
No, and you have because it's funny because the Happy Dubinsky, which you could change your name up in the upper right-hand corner of the chat if you would like. You don't have to. And it actually has Fediverse authentication built in, which is super cool. But they wanted to ask about Commas.dot, and there's no better point jumping off from where we're at, because I could keep talking about that, but I have more things I want to ask you about. So you're in music, you're in tech music, right? Computer music. And then you're just like, I'm just going to create a Creative Commons net label called Commas.dot. Like, first off, what is Commas.dot? What do you aim for? And how did it come about?
Right. So it's building on shoulders of giants, definitely. NetLabel scene. So NetLabel, I think it appeared somewhere in very late 90s, so 99, 98, 90, 99, and it came from actually, I was mentioning before, Screen Tracker. So the demo scene is the scene where people use computers and programming to create this audiovisual, presentations, let's like this, but they go really far in terms of it's executed in the computer in real time. So you run a program and it just shows you animations and some music, and it's meant to kind of showcase the ability of the programmer and also the ability of the hardware, or even like what can you do within very strict constraints in terms of like size of the program that you wrote. So that's a demo scene, and it's quite huge, at least in Europe. And from that came out something called, for a short time, underground tracker scene. So there were people who were making music for those presentations. And then they kind of like went also independent. And they were publishing their music on those big asses on the Fidonet, like pre-internet, and also then on the internet. And then came MP3. And all this kind of combined came, so the ability to actually download audio recording from the internet. And so those people kind of, so musicians kind of joined in these groups, music groups, and then slowly into net labels. Archive.org was really instrumental in that, where they created a section called net labels. and like from 2000 to 2001, or maybe from 99 to 2002, I don't know, the scene just exploded. It was so many net labels, but you couldn't follow them. But I was fortunate enough to kind of follow this from the time where you could actually have a list of all net labels that existed online, to the time when there was like, I don't know, thousands net labels out there, and people were just uploading stuff. And net label was, a continuation of the idea to that you use the network to share your work, just because you want people to hear it. Not, there was the kind of commercial aspect or kind of selling aspect or economic aspect was kind of like in the background on the second level. It was not so important. Of course, people ask like, don't steal the samples from those, and so on. But please do share this music. And then came Creative Commons, which was the answer to the question of piracy and the question of MP3, essentially Napster, and file sharing, and etc., etc. So all this time, I was just wondering, like, there's so many net labels in the world, let's say, or online, but we don't have a Slovenian net label. Why is there no Slovenian net label? So there was this situation where finally, because Creative Commons licenses have to be kind of adjusted to the region where they should be enforced.
Sure.
So every
Right.
country, every nation state, every legislator has a different, some kind of quirks regarding copyright. And those licenses
Yes.
have to be adjusted a little bit. So there was a
Right.
translation to Slovenian, and at the occasion of that, I was kind of in these circles around here. So there were two places in Slovenia, Ljudmila and Kyberpipa, Cyberpipe, who were kind of like a hacker spaces or media labs. And so I was there, and so people said like, oh, we're doing this, and we're going to have like this huge, so the author of Creative Licenses, Lawrence Lessing, will come. We will translate his book Free Culture into Slovenian, and we'll also translate the licenses. Do you have some ideas? And they said like, oh, but let's start a net label. Let's just ask people to upload any kind of music to this online form,
Yeah.
and we'll just publish it as a compilation. And then okay, so but this has to have a name. And then I came up with Kamizdat. And Kamizdat is a play to the word Samizdat and also Tamizdat, which are all words that refer to the kind of Slavic area word for publishing.
Oh.
And Samizdat is the phenomenon from like USSR, essentially, where dissidents, so people who were writing stuff that were not accepted by the Communist Party in USSR, they did their own printing, like private press printing, and distributed this kind of like in the underground, essentially. And this was called samizdat, which in Slavic languages actually means a self-publishing. But in Slovenian, when you say kamizdat, so these are two words, kam and izdat. Izdat is the publishing, but kam is in Slovenian means where. So it's kind of like a wordplay, and it is a question like, where do you want to release your music? So kamizdat is like where to release, where to publish. But let me just a little bit continue to kind of maybe wrap the whole story about the net label. So I made another EP. I managed to release another EP on this net label, Kamizdat, on that same year. But then I ran out of time, motivation, and so on. And then in 2013, so that was like 8 years later, I guess, I started to work with, I already worked with my partner, and we made a lot of music for one of the stage shows. And we were thinking like how we should make an album from that and publish it. And then I pull out this kind of like a dormant net label idea. And what's important is that because my partner runs this cultural organization that has funding like financial subventions from the city and from the state, we actually put this NetLabel to be supported by this funding. And all these years since then, we were actually a little bit forced, because we got funding, to publish about 5 albums per year. And so we are now at over 80 releases, and it's all Creative Commons. It's all name your price, free download. But we also do this physical kind of like I call them USB booklets. So there's a limited editions, like numbered 30 booklets that are kind of handmade and hand sewn. We have somebody who makes this book binding by hand. So it's something really special to hold in your hand and buy. And it runs out, like there's 30 of them and it's over. But the music is still accessible because it's online and it's free and it's Creative Commons. So that's the story of the NetLabel, essentially.
I didn't even know what a NetLabel was. I had to look up what a NetLabel was. I've never heard of anything like this. Yeah. And as someone that's been in free and open source platforms and communities and love, like, I'm always like, well, especially years ago when I was on Twitch, it's like, well, I don't want to play music for someone else. Like, I would like to look at like Creative Commons license or music, and you look up Creative Commons music, and the big ones you get are like musicarchive.org, which has a lot on there, but it's impossible to find anything you like. And then come to find out that there's these things like NetLabels. You're like recording labels, right? You're stamping your sign onto this and saying, this is a part of our label. And that immediately kind of makes that organic growth. And God, I want to keep talking about this, but also I want to talk to you about sonomu.club. So how did you find yourself in administering a Mastodon server now, but also based on music? Because I love all the depth you're giving me, all the information. I don't have to ask any questions. I'm just along for the ride. This is great. Please go for it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's great. So where to start? Mastodon. Okay, let's say like this. I think.
I think I lost you for a sec. So how do you go from the leap of like did the Mastodon come before or after Commonsdot? That it sounds like it came after Commonsdot, I imagine. Okay. So how did you? I mean, you've always been into tech. You've always been into music.
That's right. Yeah. And I've always been to, resistance. We could say that. I was always what we talked like very at the beginning about, how do we care about, people who are having the worst time in our society.
Yep.
It was obvious to me that you have this people who are giants in terms of like corporations and that they're not really, really good. They might really quickly be evil, or they might quickly do bad stuff because what they're interested in is, of course, money. So, or profit, essentially. So I discovered, I knew about free software, free Libre software, open source software very early on. There was actually even before Commonsdot, there was this NetLabel in Zagreb, Croatia, who published music of local artists under GPL, like GNU GPL license. This was very interesting. This was before Creative Commons even, but essentially I understood from very early on that there are people who care about community, who care about society, who today I would say they want social change, And there's, let's say, commercial interests who put profits on top of
Right.
their priority list.
Right.
And of course, this is Microsoft immediately, and there's immediately, proprietary software
Yep.
versus something like Linux, which exists from 91, I think, even. So I knew about that and found out about that. And so, and of course, with Facebook and Web 2.0 and social media, there came, this, of course, closed platforms, and we didn't have the term enshittification then, but some people knew there's something wrong with this. There's something wrong about this closed, proprietary, walled gardens. Where suddenly, at first they were, chronological timelines, but then they started to change, and there were ads, and suddenly you had to do certain things to publish stuff, etc. So it was clear early on, and then somebody actually, a person, so there's suddenly appears this Identica software,
Oh yeah.
and an instance like a Twitter-like clone. Which had this goal that it's all open source and that you could install on different servers. And I joined that, and I was like, I was not Twitter person. I was more blog person, and maybe Facebook person. But Twitter was like this short stuff. This microblogging was not my cup of tea. But anyway, I joined Identica, but. Like in retrospect, this I only understood after I discovered Mastodon. It was mostly technical content. It was mostly developers. It was mostly there was, something was missing. But then in 2017, I think, I discovered this place called Witches Town. So it was a town of witches, and it was a Mastodon server. And it suddenly, there was this, again, alternative, social media or, Twitter-like clone and so on. Great, free software, everything. But people who are on there, it doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
People who are on there were talking about completely different things than usually on those kind of like alternative networks. These were people who were talking about magic, queers, and solidarity. And they had a code of conduct, and they enforced that code of conduct. And I was like, what is this? This is something completely different. And I was totally fascinated by this. And I was really, like, I felt, wow, these are my people. These are people who think the way I do. And I didn't. It was a moment of kind of like a realization that this is something that I care about.
Right.
I didn't even know that I care about this.
So my question, and I'm loving absolutely all of this because it relates to me. It's about power. It's about not wanting to exist where someone else has the power. And it's not really interesting to me because I don't have a community too. It's less about the technology and more about the community. And that's, I think, where we've gotten to that point. Like, so you saw Witches Town, and please go on from there. But like, this is amazing.
So I just made an account and started to research what is this Mastodon about and how it came about and why is it different and why does it feel the way it feels. And it took me a while to understand the concept of different instances. It was not like immediately I understand everything. But then when I realized that this really can blow up in I mean, it can really not grow in terms of like, it really has to scale in kind of this tech bro sense, but it becomes like this amazing universe of diversity. Like if you have all these different instances, the software is free. The software is open source. Anybody with admin skills, of course, sysadmin skills, which is a privileged position, but anyway, can actually install a Mastodon instance someplace, sets their own rules, invites their friends, and they can all communicate with everybody else on the Fediverse. It was like, I was like, it just exploded in my mind. Something really exploded in my mind.
You're addicted.
It's a really interesting situation. And then I made some other accounts on some other servers like mastodon.art. I remember I was quite a while there. And then I was like, of course, missing like, okay, so why don't we have like a Slovenian instance? And I started this Slovenian instance, toot.si. Because somebody said somewhere on the internet, and I want to credit them, and I don't remember who they were, but they said like there was this post, and they say like, if I was from Slovenia, and I would want to make a queer instance, I would use Tutsi, And then I was like researching, and there's this movie with Dustin Hoffman, playing. A man who cross dresses essentially to have a job, and then there's a love story and so on. And from, So anyway, I understood the point, and then I just bought the domain and actually asked Mastodon, the host, to host it.
Oh, okay.
And I started this Slovenian instance, and then I had a couple of kind of like presentations and lectures in the local area. So in my town, Ljubljana here, and also some other towns in Slovenia. So I was trying really to push for this, that people who are on Instagram and Twitter, that they would, start using Mastodon. And they made accounts, they understood the concept, but it just didn't really took off at least the way I wanted. And then after a year, I realized I somehow, I didn't felt satisfied in this way. So the community didn't took off in my view. There were a couple of us there. There were a number of inactive accounts, but somehow it didn't felt successful. Somehow, and then I thought like I'll just make. Like, what about, like a music-focused Mastodon instance, but let me just start from, let me not have any kind of ambitions. Let me just start this as a single-user instance, and maybe a friend or two,
Yeah.
And then I remembered, I was looking for a name, and then I remembered when, in 2000, there was this portal called sonomo.net. And it came from a London kind of like context, and it was kind of trying to join like very small independent labels and artists to just publish their releases and make and there were some forums and so on. It was not existed for a very, very long time, but Sonomo was this really great shortening of sound, noise, and music.
Yeah.
Because, some people make noise and hate to be called musicians. Some people make music and they say it's noise. Some people say they're making sound, but it's all this I'm interested in. So I just bought the domain sonomo.club, and I again asked mastodon.host to host this instance. Made an account and started to chatting, and then I just wrote like, this instance is for this. If you want to have an account and already Mastodon, write me an email. And this was actually a very like kind of by luck, a very good strategy to get members. Like, people really wanted to be there, so they would put an effort to write an email, introduce themselves, talk to me, and ask for this account. And so those people who actually did that, then they got this account and they really used it.
They're invested.
And really slowly this kind of grew in a way where you had very, how do I call this, a different noise to signal ratio than usually. So a lot of active accounts and very few inactive accounts. And for me, Sonomo.club which exists from 2018, is a success. To me, that's a total success. I don't know. It's maybe the only kind of like a online digital community that I kind of, I guess, managed to initiate, and it really works. So it's slow growth. It's not even growth. It's just kind of like a slow movement,
But
like a tiny community. There's so many music focused instances around, so we don't even have to work like we have to, propagate or promote Fediverse. So everybody come to Sonomo.club. No, no, no. We're just this tiny, small thing where, good people who take care of queers and, are what do you say, this pro-choice and so on. We're just there. And we hate bigots, we hate fascism, Nazis, fuck off, all these things, and we're just there, we're just existing. And from time to time, somebody writes me, and usually it's approved, because people know what they want and what they can expect,
no, that's
So yeah.
again, there's so much there. So I run a peer tube. Tubefree.org, and I'm kind of the same way. I don't let everyone in. You have to give me some explanation as why you want to join. Even that little bit is an investment. But when like someone's like, well, I want to post videos, like, okay, I need to see it first.
Exactly.
Because I think here's the thing. I am going to find a point where we will not agree on something, right? That should not prevent me from allowing you to post it. Not on my platform necessarily, but have the ability to post it on your own. Right now, these big corporations, they're right. They're going for profit, and profit is whatever the majority wants. Whatever the current majority wants, that's where the profit is. And you immediately push out those people that are on the fringes. That doesn't mean they shouldn't get to participate. They should. And it comes back to that power struggle. And I think that's where the Fediverse is going to win. And we don't need them, but they sure as hell need us.
Yeah. So, my experience of Fediverse, I should really say that. I mean, there's a really bright and wonderful part, and there's potential. There's this distributed power. But there's also there's a dark side of Fediverse.
Yes.
Of course. There are all those instances and websites and portals that they're from some of the instances they are defederated, so they're blocked because of the free speech extremism, pretty much right-wing propaganda, sometimes even Nazism, racism, etc., etc.
Yeah.
And they are they're the I don't know how to say. And the thing is, for a while I was like, okay, this is the alt Fedi or alt-right Fedi or something, and this is the dark side of the Fedi. But it's not really, because from every instance there's a different perspective. So every instance on the Fediverse sees the rest of the Fediverse in a different way than some other instance, according to the blocks or suspensions or non-suspensions.
Yeah.
So and this comes in there, this idea of safe spaces and those different that you mentioned, those different views that we might disagree on, or even we could even sometimes categorically reject certain behaviors or ideas.
Yes.
There are some of them for some of us that we are not going to discuss them. Even we're going to say, no, this is disputable. We are not going to talk about this because
we can all agree on that. Yeah. There are some pretty
This is
hard
our point.
not even hard issues. There are some
Yeah.
issues that we all agree on are not difficult to accept that no, that is wrong. We all agree on that is wrong. But yeah, the rest of it is
Yeah.
shades of gray, depending on your background. And that's that it is definitely
Exactly.
a question. I mean, it's not something that I've had to deal with yet. I've had some disagreements with people, but not to that kind of level. And again, I'm probably in a very privileged place where I don't have to worry about that, but it's going to be how we come about answering that, because places like Twitter, they clearly define what can and cannot be allowed. Now, someone can buy it and change all the rules, but they have one terms of service that kind of applies to everyone, where now we don't have any. It's an entire cultural, and as you said, it's messy and complicated, right? Online communication is incomplete. It doesn't have emotion. It doesn't have cultural context. It doesn't have historical context. That's why we just have to try and work together, find the groups that we can, and try to listen to each other.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. I think already like so-called IRL communication is messy.
Yes.
Those relationships are messy
Yes.
already.
Yeah.
And then without all the non-verbal communication, it's even harder. And I think I agree. I think it's a huge learning situation for me, and I think for other people as well. Some of them. I mean, as a administrator and consequently as a moderator of a couple of instances on the Fediverse, I came about, I'm reading, I'm watching. For a while, I was really into it. I was really following. I still follow Fedi blog, of course, the hashtag Fedi blog. There's this IFTAS organization. There are a couple of moderators that I really respect. I personally really respect the Mastodon.art administrator and the moderating team, and how they uphold their code of conduct and so on. I adore somehow the work of the Go to Social development team, where I really, because I also have this Go to Social instance, like single user one, and I'm so happy to see a software that actually puts on the bottom the rainbow flag. This is something that the developer of the Mastodon, I think, would never do.
Interesting.
And taking a stance in this way as a developer, I think is really, really powerful. There's also this long history of how Mastodon came about. There are a number of articles online which say that Eugen Rochko, I think this is how his name is pronounced, the developer of Mastodon, was somehow really, really not forced, but for so long, queer people on Mastodon were requesting from him moderation tools that he caved in and did them. So this is all anecdotal. Please don't pull me for this. Don't pull my leg for this, because this is what I've read and this is what I learned online, and I might be wrong. So please, you can correct me, of course. Just write me a message on the Mastodon Fediverse. But as far as I know, so the queer community was really demanding certain things from developer of Mastodon, and that was at that time 2016-17. In a way, Mastodon is safe to a degree because of the work of those queer people and women as well. So that's one part of the interesting story where people can dig in as well. But coming back to what you asked or kind of initiated, moderation of online spaces is a huge field, and it's I find it very complicated and very demanding. I think there's I think it's from the moderator of Chaos Social. There's an article online where they explain how much work actually moderating a big Mastodon server is. How difficult those decisions are, where you actually have to, you can even understand both sides. Two
Yeah.
people have a conflict, and it's over a strong, maybe ideological thing, or somebody's really, really offended or hurt.
Yep.
And the other one is saying, like, I didn't say that. And then the first one is saying, yes, you did say that, and you hurt me, and you have to apologize. And then the other one says, like, I'm not going to apologize because that was not my intention, etc., etc., etc.
Right.
And so these are really difficult situations to step in as a moderator, but you do need to moderate those things. Otherwise, it's not a safe space anymore, or safer space at least. And I think these are really, really
It's
these are hard situations. Yeah.
it's a field without a science yet. Right? Like there needs to be science on how to take care of yourself, how to be able to take care of your community, those kinds of things that we don't have because it didn't exist. This didn't really exist. Like, yes, there was a moderator of like a speech or something, but that was all in person. Now we're trying to pull in all kinds of, again, different communities, things like that. And it's not, social media is not going away ever. This is a new wave of technology that is here. I call the Fediverse and things like that a social network because it is not meant to be consumed to make a profit. It is meant to, have conversations directly. But it's not going away. It will always, as long as the computers are here, as long as the internet's here, we are going to have this. So we need ways to find out how to do it better for the future.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for me it kind of my passion and things how these things kind of struck me emotionally and in terms of what I'm interested in. It comes down to taking care of those parts of because at one time I wrote this post and I kind of remember this. I personally I'm really interested. I'm interested at the fringe. I'm interested in fringe, weird,
Unique.
people and work and artwork that is unique, but that is also kind of like in minority. So I think there's this. There's this philosopher Gilles Deleuze who was writing about minority, kind of minority languages, minority other stuff. So a concept of minority as a really important kind of central point that defines somehow our society. How what is our relationships towards minorities and the fringe and the margins, and how this defines the center and mainstream, etc., etc. And I personally, I'm really, really happy with interpersonal communication, direct action, having small communities where our humanity is cherished and respected, much more than this tech bro fantasy of global digital square. I think it's totally impossible, and it's kind of like a wet dream that will never happen or could not ever happen.
Yep.
And I think we spend our time much better, and it's much better that we spend our time on people who are next to us, to our communities, like local communities. And also, I mentioned just before we started the stream how these moderation issues and codes of conduct and questions of how do we deal with let's say minorities or people who are on the fringe or on the margin, who are really not well in our societies. these questions online, they spill into the real life. Like I'm involved in a local queer, small queer electronic dance venue, and these there are the same questions. Like it's a lesbian club, and how does the lesbian club or queer club ask straight white hetero man to not come into that venue, while allowing all other queer identities into it, like for example trans men, or gay men. How do you deal with this? How do you ask them? How do you demand this? How do you throw somebody out? Why, etc., etc.? So all these questions
Wow.
are really, I think, they're not easy, but they're really important. I think, how do we deal with this? How do we take power that we do this, and how do we prevent that this power is not abused? Like I'm somebody who's running a NetLabel that became quite important, in at least in Slovenian local scene,
Yeah.
and I have a power with this. How do I make sure that I don't abuse this power, or that that
Yeah.
I don't do this gatekeeping that is kind of not fair to others.
Yeah. No,
Which comes
that's
to fairness, and now we can talk about fair trade music, for example.
I've been having a great time. This has been amazing. I will have to talk to you again more in the future. What is the best way folks can help you in whatever your goals, Mastodon or your music or any of that?
Wow, that's a really good question. I'm not sure I have the answer to it. I mean, I'm help me maintain communities, or a community. There's always how do you say, not enough moderators, people who want to moderate things, or know how to moderate those spaces, like sonomo.club, even just Fediverse. And at the same time, it's also like, I think people have to know what they're getting into if they, if they want to moderate an online space. There's a couple of initiatives that I started. So there's also this Be Your Own Platform website that is hosted on Codeberg, and it's just an organization, so anybody with the username can be given editing rights. So there could be a helping hand. We didn't even talk about Be Our Own Platform, but doesn't matter. It's okay. There's so many things.
Oh wow, I didn't even know there was another
there's,
thing.
Yeah.
Let's see, you do way too much.
So this is what I say: fair trade music. And there's also this forum site created by Icaria, a person called Icaria36, called the Social Music Network. So it's the.socialmusic.network, and it's a discourse based forum meant to sustain discussions on fair trade music and other systems. So if you know Mirlo, Jam Co-op, bandwagon.fm, these are all initiatives that try to solve the situation that Bandcamp put us in somehow by being sold to a shady company. And their discussions, there are a lot of discussions there. What does it mean? What is fair trade? What do we need? What do we want? Both musicians, listeners, so-called consumers of music, and so on. And being there, contributing to the discussion in this sensible way, of course, careful way, safe way, but advancing this discussion, paying free software developers, donate to Go to Social. All these things help. We are all in this together, and we should kind of just somebody. So there's this blogger who wrote, we should pull each other up. We should all kind of like, help each other to go up, not hit us down or something. So if you do anything in this way, please do that. And don't like. There's also this other thing called three gates of speech, which is really good thing. Merve.town has this as a, and it's about like what do you contribute to the online space or any kind of like discussion? Is it truthful? Is it beneficial? And is it kind? So you have to ask those 3 questions before you post. 3 gates of speech.
Wow. Yeah, I'd never heard of that. No, okay.
So if you do this, you help me.
Yeah, I was gonna say the only thing, Lucija, one is just for everyone to help each other. And it's interesting how many times I get that there's no one that wants to be the sole proprietor of all social communication that I've talked to. There's no one that is just like, I just need, you to donate $5.99 per month for 500 people. And like, it literally all comes down to, dude, we just want a place to talk and awesome people to talk to. That's great. I love it. All right. Well, now for the real reason I asked Lucija here is to give them the opportunity to win a prize of a lifetime. Our prize today is a totally brand new, not at all regifted, automatone. Have you ever used one of these? You know what this is?
What is this? I don't know what this is.
Automatome. Apparently it's Japanese. It's this like rubber, like music looking note thing. And you have buttons on the front that play music, but the music is dictated by how open or closed the mouth is, because it is like a music note with a face.
All right. Okay. Cool.
All right.
A new instrument for me.
A new instrument. Yeah. Are you ready for the quiz? Okay.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Favorite movie and why is it Spaceballs?
It's not Spaceballs.
Okay.
But the favorite movie is favorite movie. My first thought was Matrix.
Oh, that's a good one. Okay.
I don't know if it's
No. Yeah, Matrix. I always ask this question because I love to find new and interesting movies, and Matrix is really good. I've seen it. But, yeah, no, it's an excellent movie. Spaceballs was the right answer, though. My favorite is Spaceballs, if you couldn't tell. White, blue, or red?
Red.
Red? Okay, why red?
And it's my favorite color since ever.
Okay.
It's just simple.
That's fair.
There's no other reason.
All right. So next question, and I'm probably going to butcher these, and I apologize. So if you need me to say it again, I will. But Kremna Resina or Prekmurska Gibanica or...
Okay. I know exactly what you're asking, but yeah, you butchered it a little bit. Yeah. So do you want me to correct you?
Well, yeah. Go ahead.
That's it. So what you're talking are probably the two most famous sweet food in Slovenia.
Yep.
One is called kremna rezina, and
Okay.
the other one is called prekmurska gibanica.
Okay, that one I had way wrong.
And yeah, I would actually say prekmurska gibanica.
Okay.
And you want me to know why, or
Yeah.
I think, yeah, kremna rezina, or so-called kremšnita as well. Kremšnita is also the name for it, a local name. I think it has too much eggs.
Too much eggs. Okay. So these are desserts. These are Slovenian desserts, right? And I have a picture of a Prekmurska. I can't even pronounce it. I apologize. That looks fantastic. I'm hungry.
Okay. So there's this direct translation of this.
Okay.
And it means over Mura moving bread. And
Over.
you still don't understand anything, but so yeah, Prekmurje is area of Slovenia. It's the most eastern part of Slovenia. So it's on the other side of the river, which is called Mura. So Prekmurje means over the Mura. And Gibanica is just the name of certain type of pie, let's say like this. And I don't know why it's called gibanica, but gibanica is translated as something that moves. Gib is a movement. Huh. So I don't know why is it called in this way, but you could translate that as a moving bread, gibanica. But yeah.
Looks like it looks delicious.
Might be funny for somebody. Okay. Did you show it?
Yeah, well, I showed it on the stream. I thought I did.
Show it. All right. You did?
There. Okay, I am cool. Now. There's a delay, so. All right.
Yeah.
Next question. What does an alternate universe Lucija do?
Yeah. It's cool actually to watch your previous, shows, because I was a bit ready for this. But I mean, I don't know the answer immediately. I have to think of it. Parallel universe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Parallel universe. Alternate universe. Lucija.
Yeah.
Would do. I think study and write philosophy.
Oh. Okay. Just because that was what you were interested in, that you might go into, right? When you were younger, you said.
I think it's kind of like, apart from art making, is one of the most biggest passions for me. But I don't have the patience to read so much and write so much. So I guess it comes from my fantasy.
Okay, that's fair. All right. Well, I reached out to an alternate universe, Lucija. I have an alternate universe phone here, which is apparently an SD card today. 128 gigabyte Evo Samsung. I reached out to an alternate universe, and the alternate universe Lucija said that they were an anti-capitalist. So similar to you, right? And when I asked that Lucija to tell me more, they said they just always write in lowercase letters.
Okay. Sounds cool.
Sorry, I don't know how to come up with these sometimes, so I'm just an idiot.
No, but actually, I write my emails a lot of times in lowercase letters.
All lowercase.
And I don't know if you are aware that some writers, for example, Bell Hooks, which is a feminist writer, she insisted, and she's always written with lowercase letters. So her name is Bell Hooks, but it's not capitalized. It must not be capitalized, and that's a move to kind of bring a message across which is contra power. So essentially, the capital letters give message of, this is big, this is my
Wow.
name. But when you do it with lowercase letters,
Yeah.
it has this message of, I'm not important. My name is not important. So
Wow.
you were onto something, I think, there.
I made light of a real movement, but I didn't know, I swear. No, this is interesting. She used lowercase spelling of her name to decenter herself and draw attention to her work instead. I mean, I immediately love that. Because that's... We idolize so many people, and it should be about what they've created, not like who they are. Interesting.
Exactly. I'm very kind of also, as much as I can, maybe my online persona gives some other message, but as much as I can, I'm really kind of against this cult of personality thing. So that you play with, so that you use, I don't know, your name and your face and everything, and then you uplift yourself,
personal
to
brand,
market yourself,
right?
So,
The whole personal brand ideas.
Yeah, these are all, and I'm so sad that so many creators, musicians, artists, many of them actually have to, submit to this. They're, it's kind of like inevitable, or it's necessary to survive. And you have to do your brand. You have to develop your brand and think of your art as business, etc., etc. And
that just sounds.
Oh man,
I mean, if that's
really
what you want to
hurts
do
in a
with your
way.
life, but that sounds sad.
I also know it's, but I mean, it's sad because it's systemic problem. It's not a problem of individuals. Of course, some people can care about this more and some people less, but it is a systemic push that you do that, because there's currently probably no other way than to do this. And I think Mel, that you already had on as a guest, her art is like in a big way as well. Although I think her music is like totally working on herself, But the way she works with this Mastix project is exactly about that. It's total joke on branding yourself.
Yes.
And
yep.
I adore this. I really adore this.
Yep. No, I love all of the blatantly in your face satire of Mel's art. And the music is fun as well. Like the whole art piece, like I feel like to fully understand, you have to see the videos with her songs, right? Because those, they get so much more in your face. But yeah, I really enjoy Mel's stuff too. So.
But I also think if you're watching this stream, please go buy Mel's music, because I also think her music, to me, it's amazing. It's a mix of Prince and Janet Jackson and I don't know, David Bowie and some more, and it totally works without even being a recipient of this satire. I think her music is really, really good.
Yeah. All right. Next question is sound, noise, or music?
Great. Yes.
All right. You don't even need to say why. Yes is a perfect answer to that. Okay, good. Last question, as usual, will be sent to Lucija telepathically. So open up your telepathy lines, and because I'm fully telepathic. So you ready for the question? Because here it's coming. There's your question. Take your time. Let me know when you have an answer.
I think we'll make it through with hope and community.
Oh, wow. I mean, I can't deny that's wrong. So congratulations. You got every answer, either correct or incorrect. Good job. Unfortunately, everyone I sent to go pick up the automatone gets caught looking at how cute it is and then just sits there and keeps playing it. So unfortunately, I won't be able to get you your automatone. But you should look at it. They're really cute. I don't know. They're not really. I mean, I guess they're a musical instrument. I'm sure someone's made it into one. As it's a non-musician, I just sit there and press the buttons. They're super adorable. But Prince Lucija, thank you so much for joining me. This has been. I have to go take a nap now because my brain is so tired of all the amazingness you just gave me. So thank you so much.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
No. This has been absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for being on. Thank you for starting up all these communities just because you want to see them represented and then they need represented. And I'm sure to all of those people it matters, right? Like and to anyone else looking to come into those environments it matters too. So thank you for all you're doing.
Thank you for having me, and also thank you for doing this. I think what you're doing is also creating a community. So, and I really like how open this is and how many different people are coming on. Keep doing this, and thank you again for having me.
Thank you so much, and everyone else out there on the Fediverse. Again, as always, thank you all so much. Other people is why we do this, so that we can all learn and interact and mix and mingle and enjoy life to the fullest. Please don't forget to thank your mods, your admins, your software developers for helping make all this possible. And we'll catch you on the next episode. Have a great one all. Bye.
Bye-bye.